Hey, it's Nikko from Learn the Wild and Motherlode Prospecting. That looks nothing like California. Not the California that you're probably used to, not the California I'm used to because I'm not in California. I'm in Nevada, the high desert, prospecting outside of California for the very first time. And not only am I prospecting here for the first time, I'm not going at it alone. I've got some help. I'm joining a class taught by the great Gerry McMullen of Gerry's Detectors in Idaho. If you haven't heard of him, look him up. This is not going to be the last video like this for the year. In fact, next month, Gerry and I are doing another video. We're doing another dig. If you like prospecting, or if you like metal detecting, or you just want to see what it's about, tune in. This is going to be a good episode. I'm going to go hop in that lake. I forgot my Speedo in the truck.
Although he won't admit it, Nikko realized he was lost.
I seem to have some difficulty with Gerry's instructions, but I wasn't lost. That's for sure.
He was definitely lost.
I'm gonna call Gerry. I don't know where he's at.
Please leave your message. Please leave your message for...
Okay, he hit ignore that time. I guarantee it. Gerry? I need an adult.
Nikko? Yeah. The group of all the vehicles out here by the burn barrel? And then you got what kind of coordinates? Nikko, how come everybody else has made it here? Where are you at, Nikko? You down by the lake? You say you already drove past a group of people? Well, knucklehead, why didn't Nikko up on the mountain? Yeah, but Nikko back here where we're at. This is where the class is, where all the vehicles are. California kids. All right, see you in a bit.
Made it to the hotel. Who's that sexy guy? Came with the room, I think. Hey, there's that sexy guy again. Got my kitchen. Fridge is Luke cold.
Money, power,
Lovelock, Nevada. Make sure there's no dead bodies in here. It does kind of smell like poop. No poop. Thank God. Deal with enough of that in my house. Alright, back to the truck. Friday morning. Training kicks off. Filled up my tank. Got some snacks. Got some breakfast. Donald. Not much out here. Like, I mean that in many ways. Not a whole lot out here. About an hour drive. I'll be a little early.
Nikko was not early.
Now you can watch me eat. Best part of the video. I'm turning fast food into gold. Goes in, flies out my fingertips into my scoop. Like a freaking wizard. So all of Friday was class time. We sat around and Jared gave demonstrations on different types of detectors, different types of coils on different types of targets, and went into a lot of the basics and just advanced throughout the day. I think we spent 8 or 9 hours as he went through pretty much everything that you would need to get started, minus actually getting out there and digging targets for yourself. Fortunately, on Thursday night when I showed up, I dug 3 pieces of gold, and on Friday after class, I went up and dug a couple more. So on Saturday when everyone went out to dig, I figured I'd help Jerry out, and I had a bunch of marker flags. So I went up and found some juicy sounding targets and marked them, and dug a couple of them and left a few in the ground for others to listen to, so they know what their detector sounds like when it goes over gold or iron or whatever it ended up being. I spent a good portion of Saturday doing that, as well as digging into a nice crystal pocket with a bunch of nice quartz spears. This is me finding targets for other people. So I got a really good sounding target right here. So I'm going to unplug my headphones. Clip you back on the detector.
All right. Now, check it with the Equinox.
So while most people will run one detector when they're out gold prospecting, it's not uncommon to see me out there with two. And I'll usually have my pulse induction machine as a primary. And because it doesn't have discrimination, rather than dig every single target, I will have a VLF with me as well. Now usually it's a Minelab Equinox and my pulse induction is a Garrett Axiom. But I have various combinations I'll bring depending on where I'm at. In this situation, I was running the Garrett Axiom as my primary, and then I was using the Minelab Equinox 900 to check the targets. It's something that Gerry has used out in Nevada, Oregon, Idaho, and other places he hunts as well with great success.
Little pellet. Tiniest of pellets. That Axiom hit that thing hard. Sounded just like a nugget. Exactly like a nugget. Got a killer looking sounding target right here.
You might notice that I'm using 2 scoops as I'm chasing down these targets, and I got a lot of comments about that on this trip, and I've received a lot of comments about that from people I've prospected with, and I don't know where I got that from. I think it just kind of came natural to me, but I know I'm not the only one that does it. And the reason I started doing it, if I remember correctly, is because I tossed a handful of dirt that had a piece of gold in it, and I chased it for a week. I lost it in a boulder garden. I did find it. It was 1.7 grams. It was not worth a week of work, but now I run 2 scoops, and there are times when I actually will have a third, or I'll pull out a small pan out of my pack. Coming from California, the type of gold that we find when we are metal detecting is alluvial placer gold. And that's gold that has been eroded away out of its host rock, usually quartz. It tumbles around in the rivers, in the creeks, and it makes its way down to the deepest spot in that watershed. The bigger pieces will just sit there and hang underneath these large boulders and in these crevices in the bedrock, but we'll find it on high benches where the river used to flow. It's a bit different out in the desert, and that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to go out and gain some experience on detecting out in the desert, because instead of alluvial gold, which is washed down with water, the gold in the desert out here in Nevada, and you'll find this in Arizona and
pretty much any area that's primarily arid desert conditions. And that gold is eluvial. And the way that gold gets concentrated is much different. Alluvial gold ends up on the top more often than not, or at least close to the surface. And the reason is, where we're detecting, millions of years ago, mountains were thousands of feet higher, have been eroded by these desert winds. You have animals that run by and they'll kick up a rock and break it, and that'll release a little bit of dust and sand. The winds come through, blows it away. And what you end up with is this very interesting type of deposit where you have the heavies on the top, because anything that the wind can't blow away stays put. And it's kind of cool, and it's kind of counterintuitive unless you're used to this. And this was new to me. And this is where I've honed in the boot scrape. And, you know, we're traditionally out in California. If I get a nice target, the first thing I'm going for, more often than not, is a large pick. And I'm going to be pulling off some grass. I'm going to be pulling off some of that top material. And then I'm going to go down and at least get, 3 to 6 inches of material off the ground, or pop a plug of dirt out and check that. Out here, a lot of the gold is very small. The big stuff's been taken for the most part. So we're scraping the top a little bit and seeing if that signal still sounds like gold, or if we can move and locate it. In this diagram here, you'll see what I mean. If you look at the bottom, it's all sandy, and as you go up toward the top, you actually get larger and larger rocks, and you get the heavier material. I put some gold nuggets in there to kind of illustrate how they might deposit and be found. Now, if we're out in an area on the west coast, the west side of Sierra Nevada, Oregon, British Columbia, Alaska, you get it. That gold's going to sink to the bottom. As material gets washed away by the water, the gold goes down a little bit and new material covers it up. That process gets repeated until that gold can't go down any farther. It's a whole different experience, but really at the end of the day, it's the same thing. You're listening for the same types of sounds. You're trying to get your coil a little bit closer to that target to identify whether or not it's something worth your time to chase. I learned a lot just by being out there for a couple days. I've known about this, but until you go out there and do it, it's much different. So this is after lunch on Saturday, and this is the same area where I had found a handful of targets and marked them with a flag after the first one ended up being a piece of gold. And this particular flag was giving a somewhat weak response with the detector, so I figured it was another tiny little grain, or maybe a deep lead pellet. I ended up taking 4 pieces of gold out of this small area, and as you can see down at the bottom, you have these washes with the bigger rocks on the top, and it starts to fan out and flatten out. And that's sort of where I would have expected to find pieces of gold out here. But up at the top, those pieces were in a sandy area, which was actually on the other side of this washed out road. And they weren't very deep. So we think that maybe the dozer that went through and cleared that road the last season hit it. And actually looking at the piece I got at the top, the smallest one, it's clearly broken off of another piece.